Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Anastasia podcast. For you guys, it's just another Tuesday. For me, it's super long time no talk. I literally just, first of all, had to clean the office, and clean the office means move piles of to all different places. I have like stacks of paperwork so big, so big. Okay, I'll get to this room in another part of my nesting phase. I've said this in a podcast before. I feel like I've never really nested. I've always been that person that like every year I like to go through different areas of my house and just not even declutter, but like what doesn't serve our house anymore, what doesn't serve our needs. I love doing that with clothes. I am in like a spastic mode with my clothes right now. If you're friends with me on Instagram and you watch my stories, you know I'm drowning in laundry. Like this is so funny. I sent my best friend a picture yesterday of a mountain of clean clothes on my bed. And then I still have a double load of clean clothes. I'm like trying to kind of do like one hamper a night, a double load hamper of clean clothes on the floor. And then my closet, it's just like almost like out of a movie. Like you open a door and it just explodes out. And that is all dirty clothes and it has to be sorted. And I'm not saying this to like this that is a result of 2 months of being so sick I couldn't function, and literally, like, Matt was doing all the laundry. I could not go from the 2nd floor to the 1st floor to the basement to do laundry. No freaking way. I was, like, barely taking care of Magnolia. All her needs were being met. She's being fed 3 times a day, snacks, whatever, changed all the time. But, like, that's all I had in me. Like, that was all I had in me with the nausea, with, like, being sick, with just having no energy. So I'm, like, coming up and up. But anyways, the point of all this was my best friend sent me a picture of her pile on her closet floor, and she's like, "It's like this all the time, to be honest." And I was like, "Wow, we really are all so similar, and we don't realize it." It's just like we're doing our best. So, anyways, today I'm going to talk about kind of two main things, and I'm sure I'll go off on tangents. I wanted to talk about gender disappointment and how common that is. And I keep seeing a theme about this on social media, like normalizing gender disappointment. And then I saw something that really convicted me, and it was talking about not finding out the gender. And I was kind of on the fence on like, I kind of wanted to find out the gender with this baby because it'll just be a little easier for me to plan. And Matt doesn't want to find out, so I'll circle back to that. And then I want to talk about the gift of marrying a provider and what I mean by that. And not like kind of how social media portrays ending up with a guy who covers all your bills and spoils you and takes care of you and you never have to work. Like, I just kind of had this really big realization of just the season that we're in life and the teamwork that it takes, and like it only works because we're a team and we're both working towards the same goals. And my role at home and covering what I can now now that I'm coming up for air versus like that, allowing Matt to work as hard as he does and like to be able to provide for our families in the way that he does. And it's crazy. So I've just really been thinking about that because Anastasia 14 years ago didn't know that this is who she was marrying and this is what her life would look like. Like Matt and I were just best friends. And it's just such a gift. It's like a gift that keeps on giving. So when I was cleaning the office, I found my podcast calendar and we're in December and it's April. So this is the podcast calendar that I was using to kind of track when I was recording and then what was being released. I opened up my laptop and I found that I have today, this podcast is my fourth podcast in my backlog. I recorded a podcast when I kind of was in the thick of not feeling well and we hadn't announced the pregnancy yet. And when I started watching the footage back, like I was just not in a good place. So I don't know if I'm even going to post that podcast. I have to re-listen to the audio of it and see if it's even worth, like if there's any nuggets good enough there to share. I think if I do upload that podcast, like release it, that one is episode 2.9. I think I would double release and do that. And then Matt and I also filmed together a podcast of us announcing the pregnancy. That was around, I thought, like 7, 8 weeks, but I measured like 6 weeks in my ultrasound. So like I'm all over the place. That's a whole other thing. Like I was trying to count on the calendar yesterday where I'm actually at because I've slowly been coming up for air. So I know my first trimester is ending, and I truly think I'm 12 weeks. And it's so crazy because 12 weeks second pregnancy versus 12 weeks first pregnancy. Okay, I just don't even know what occurred to my body over the past 2 months. Like, that was crazy. I don't know if this is like a mom thing, but I'm like, do I not want to wear leggings anymore? I don't know. I'm like, are my hips bigger? And I was talking to Matt's mom, and she's like, okay, well, like when you have a baby, there's muscle memory. And they always say, like, you show with your second, your third, whatever more, because it's not your body's first time kind of walking through that. And I already feel like I totally have like a baby curve. It's not like a baby curve, but it's like a baby curve. And I'm just like, it's tough because I like don't know my style. I know that how I feel in my clothes, like, I know I'm pregnant, but I also know I just felt like shit for 2 months. I don't wanna say eating like shit, just eating more than I've ever eaten before because you have to eat every hour to literally function and survive, and you're not eating meals, you're not eating meals at all, like, you would, like, split a meal into, like, 3 different times of eating, but I was saying this to my little brother last night, I'm like, "I have not felt full." Like, when you eat, like, I used to love kind of like fasting and then I would like eat a good meal and then I'd go like 8 hours without eating. Like, I always loved kind of eating 1 to 2 meals a day. It just worked easier for my life. I don't like stopping what I'm doing to have to like cook and sit down and eat. And I'm like, I literally have not had the feeling of like, "Oh, I'm full," or like, "Oh, I'm satiated" in months. And it's so weird. It's so weird because I know truly volume wise, I'm eating like or I was eating so much more. Another thing that's interesting, I was saying this to Matt, I'm like, okay, I think like when I get out of this, on the other side of this pregnancy, whatever, if we do decide to have a third, and I say like if heavily and boldly because I literally have no idea what the future holds, what it will look like, what my mental capacity will be, what our like family dynamic will be regarding Matt getting pulled to work, like all this stuff. I know my limits. I know a lot of my limits were exposed to me over the past year and a half and now. So I'm doing my best. But I was like, you know what I could do? I could just really work within like macros and calorie like parameters with pregnancy. And then I would like go get meal prep containers, but like super small portions. And I would just like make my 3 meals a day and have it like rotated. But I would like make micro portions of it that I would be eating every hour because I just first of all, I didn't know I was gonna feel like this. I did not have the bandwidth, like, I did not have the bandwidth to even cook, like, I could barely take care of myself. Reaching for stuff, like, that's how I learned the hard lesson of, like, just reaching for things that are pre-made and available did me so dirty, I ended up in the hospital, like, you need nutrition, you need balanced nutrition. When you feel so terrible, you can't prepare meat for yourself because and I remember seeing someone on Instagram being like, "Oh, this is so crazy, like, the thought of raw meat or cooking meat, like, disgusts me, but I can DoorDash it no problem." And I was like, "That is so weird." And then that happened to me for 2 freaking months, and I'm like, and I went back in my text yesterday because I was trying to figure out our actual conception date. So I was like going through my text with Matt and I saw at the end of February, beginning of March, I texted him and I was like, not only does meat give me the ick, it turns out when she eats a meat stick, and I was talking about Magnolia, I'm like, it literally disgusts me. And like Magnolia was always gnawing on like chopsticks and things like that. It's like good for their teeth and it just really kind of gets them working. And um, I'm like, "Okay, that was like, that was a month and a half ago." I'm like, it was crazy. That was crazy, that was crazy. So when you're in it that hard, you cannot take care of yourself. You're so reliant on your partner, like, supporting you in any way possible because you are just I don't even wanna say you're dropping what it's like a new level of survival. And again, this is just like the huge lesson and like interesting thing for me of like, wow, I literally thought my whole first year with Magnolia, I was in survival mode. Like this like was like new level of survival mode. Like struggling through the first trimester while taking care of a 1-year-old, like, but you know what? What's on the other side of it? We get tougher. We like walk through things we had no idea we were capable of doing. And it's like when you're in it, yeah, it's super hard, but you do make it out to the other side and you're like, and I will say, like, thank God, because while I was in that, there's something called HG. It's like, I'm not even gonna try to say it because I've listened to it on Google, like Google saying it to me so many times, and there's so many syllables I can't remember. But HG is when you are like violently ill and you are nauseous your entire 9 months of pregnancy. You end up being hospitalized a lot because you can't keep anything down. There's dehydration. You end up losing weight your pregnancy. One of my husband's coworkers' wives has this right now, and I feel for her so much. I think about her all the time because when I would like think I have no will to keep going, I'm like, she literally has it worse and they want a baby so bad. And I just love her so much for just like just being so tough and going through this. So it's, like it's very rare. HG only happens to 0.3 to 3% of pregnant women, but like Ooh, you like are completely dependent on other people. And I really took a turn, like things got better for me, not with the nausea, but in being able to like function a tiny bit more. When Matt's mom came over the day after I went to the hospital, because they kept Magnolia overnight that night, because I never made it to their house to pick her up because I had to go to the ER. Susan came and had like an arsenal of food. She stocked my freezer. She got me a bunch of prepared foods, and I was slowly able to, when I was eating, it was balanced nutrition. It had protein, it had fats, it had complex carbs versus simple carbs. And that over the course of a few days really changed the trajectory of like my whole cellular being. And even though the nausea was still really there, it's like you start seeing in color again instead of like being so filled with despair and feeling like you can't go on. Anyways, so I don't remember where I was going with that, but basically where I'm at right now, I'm 12 weeks. So what's today? Today is April 13th, and I'm recording my 12th podcast episode. So I don't know, maybe this will come out at the end of the month. This is like next week I have we have our first like really good ultrasound where the baby's going to be the shape of a baby. So fingers crossed, prayers that everything goes smooth and looks good and baby's developing well despite how sick mommy was for those 2 months. And yeah, let's get into it. The only other thing I want to say about like how I'm feeling better is the past 2 days I'm waking up still nauseous. Like today, my husband got home from work at 5:27. He walked through the front door. I literally screenshot it when I looked at it on the camera because the dog barked and woke me up. I was like, stop barking or you won't live here anymore. Don't wake the baby. No, he was fine. Matt took him out. I couldn't fall back asleep because at that point, I went to bed pretty early last night. So I did sleep 7.5 hours, but the nausea kind of starts to kick in and you just feel like your stomach is eating itself. And I'm like, I'm not going to fall back asleep. But I really didn't know how long I was awake. So I looked at the cameras to see when Matt got home and I was like, I've been up since 5:30. I'm like, I don't ever wanna wake I love mornings. I don't wanna wake up at 5:30. I'm not that girl. I'm not that girl. I'm not that girl. But we'll all have an early bedtime tonight. So, I am finding I kind of hit the wall at around 3 o'clock. It is my, like that's my reminder of it's not just like, "Oh, I'm getting past the nausea." It's like, "Oh, no, I'm pregnant." Like, I don't have energy sun up to sundown. I go, 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 go until there's no more go. And that's my new reality, and I will take this over what that was any day of the week. So, like, yesterday, what did I get to do? I, like, did a lot yesterday. Noli and I played outside. The playing outside shit is getting crazy. This kid, like, wants to eat, live, breathe outside, and, like, I don't mind it, but I'm like, "Magnolia, I can't change your outfit 9 times a day." And, I mean, I can't. I have to because that's what ends up happening, but this chick, like, she's in that defiant phase where she, like, will eat dirt and eat rocks, and you're just like, "S Stop." And, like, you tell them no, and then they think it's funny, so they keep doing it. So, your patience gets tested like that. But I was, like, gung ho ready to go to the market to go pick up something so I could meal prep for myself, and then I, like, plateaued and I was like, I'm going to sit on the floor for the rest of the day. And then that's just kind of how it was. Daddy had to go back to work. So I was solo parenting, like, and I solo parented the whole morning because Matt worked overnight. And, I just have to like remind myself, Anastasia, you didn't have helping hands and you were doing it all yourself. And it's okay to like cut the productivity and be like, I did enough for today. I took that mountain of clean clothes on my bed and I put it back in an empty hamper because as much as I wanted to do it last night, it just was not happening. And I was like, oh, wouldn't it be great if I could sort that dirty clothes out tonight and then just start a load so one load could be done in the morning? And then I was like, Anastasia, who are you doing this for? Like when is enough for me to just like wave the white flag of like, you are in so much physical pain, like your body's pain. Go to bed. Go to freaking bed. So I went to bed and it was great. And then ended up waking up at 5:30 and that was enough sleep. All right, let's talk about this. I mean, I'm not sure all my listeners see it because I'm pregnant. So obviously my algorithm is feeding me content for that. But gender disappointment is something that I'm seeing a lot on social media. And it talks about normalizing gender disappointment. And it's okay if like you don't get the gender that you want. And I have a few thoughts about this. We all know that I didn't find out if I was having a girl or a boy in my last pregnancy, but I spent my entire pregnancy really, really thinking I was having a boy. Part of me thinking I was having a boy was based on like old wives' tales of like I really had no symptoms, I felt great my whole pregnancy, etc. But also in my heart of hearts, I wanted a boy because I knew it would be a little easier. For me, mentally, based on my childhood, my upbringing, like my dynamic with my mom, etc., it would just be easier for me to have a boy that I could love on this little boy and Matt could like kind of take over in the harder things. And I just was like, I'm going to be a boy mom. Fast forward, we have Magnolia. Fast forward even more, like Matt and I, obviously you love your kids. Matt and I love her so much. We talk about all the time, like, it's not that we don't want a boy. No, I'd love to see what a little Matt would look like, but there is just something about little girls. And I'm like, that expression, like, thank heaven for little girls. Okay. Not only do I get it now, I get it. Like, so sweet. And like, even more beyond that, I recognize why God gave us a girl. Like, God gives you exactly what you need. He knows better than us. Matt he worked a triple last Monday, a triple, ladies and gentlemen. And this will get us into our next topic about marrying a provider. He got out of his first shift a tiny bit early and he was able to meet me at my doctor's appointment because it was in the same town that he was in. I Everybody at my doctor's office loves him, so it was like a surprise for all of them, and then we were able to impromptu go out for lunch because it was grandma day and Noli was with, Matt's mom. We wanted to go to Texas Roadhouse, get some steaks, get some good protein. They were closed, so we went to Tavern on the Square. We got burgers. The whole time I was sitting there with Matt, I just wanted to cry because I love this man so much, and I just felt like a little girl, like, on a date, not a little girl, like, not in a creepy way. I just felt like that young teenage girl who's, like, with the guy that she has the biggest crush on ever, and I was like, "Okay, this is how I feel about my husband 14 years later, like, this is magic." Also, it's probably the hormones of my pregnancy, but I also am pretty obsessed with my husband. Everybody who knows me knows that. We were talking about because we just did the genetic testing and we sent off I had to get blood work for it. And we had them mark that we're not going to find out the gender. But I wasn't like dead set on it. And I'm like, all right, I could still find out with the anatomy scan, later down the road. And because at first they were like, well, it's on the genetic testing. Just don't look at the results when you get them. I would not look at the results. I would look at the results so fast, it would be scary. And Matt's like, you can't keep a secret, so you would tell me. So Matt was kind of just telling me why he doesn't necessarily want to find out the gender. And I was kind of telling him, like, okay, I get that because I love the surprise of not finding out Magnolia's gender. And because it's such a special moment, you have the baby, like you go through labor with your husband, you have the baby, and then your husband announces if you guys just welcomed a little girl or a little boy into this world. And it was just magic. And then in that moment, then you know what the identity of that baby is based on the name that you picked. And it was just so beautiful. And I'll cherish it forever. And like a part of me wants that. But the other part of me is like, all right, what are we going to do about rooms? What are we going to do about this? What are we going to do? Like, and it's just the natural planning. So I see a reel on Instagram a few days ago, and it's like, it was like hot take, controversial, whatever. And it was like, we have normalized gender disappointment. And it is just an extension of our obsession of like wanting to control and to plan. And it was like a little bold. And I think, like, sometimes we talk in that way to like ruffle some feathers. And I don't think, I would like to preface this by saying, I don't think it's wrong if you find out the gender. I don't think you're a bad person or there's anything wrong with you wanting to play. Like, I don't think that at all. I think it spoke to me because I wanted to control all these things, and, like, exactly what it said, it spoke to me and it made me feel convicted, and it's not like, "Oh, don't find out the gender because if you do, it's wrong." It just reminded me the walk I got to have with God my last pregnancy of just, like, trusting that He was giving our family exactly what we needed, and I kinda wanna do that again. And it talked about, like, what used to be something where you co-create with God. God is truly giving your family what He knows you need. We kind of make it messy and get in the way and try to put our needs, I guess, before His. And it just really kind of gave me something good to think about, and I was like, "Okay, you know what? I think I'm okay with waiting because time will tell. I will figure out the rooms. I'll do all that stuff when the baby's here, you know? I'm gonna be home anyways. I'll be half sleep deprived and like 20% there, but it's all gonna work out. And that's the other side of the trust. Like it's all gonna work out. So I'm really looking forward to that. Again, this is like nothing against anybody who finds out the gender. I wanted to find out the gender the first time. And then, we heard stories of people who didn't find out the gender. We read Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights. He talked about not finding out the gender for any of his kids. And it really kind of just became like an easy thing for us where we're like, we're going to wait. So I guess we're going to wait again. So let's just hope I don't cave and beg for that information because last pregnancy, when I was like 36, 37, or 38 weeks pregnant, I was working on the nursery and I was so overwhelmed and I was mad. I was mad that I didn't find out the gender because I was like, I don't even like surprises. I'm going to call them right now and make them tell me. And you try to grasp for control when you feel like you don't have control, and you're not supposed to feel like you're fully in control because you're not. You're supposed to get the peace from God. So, next topic that I want to talk about is marrying a provider. So, this is just something that I kind of woke up thinking about today. Again, probably because Matt came home from working overnight. But I'm like, all right, 14 years ago when I met my husband, we just like got along. Like we became each other's best friends very quickly. We had so many similarities and common interests and similar outlooks on life and things that we want in life, etc. And it was just a natural, road to engagement, marriage, etc. And I don't know. I feel like I had the honeymoon phase for forever. Matt and I recently, I think I may have said this in a podcast, we talked about how really walking through that first year of having a baby was probably one of the most challenging things we'd done at that point in the 13 years that we were together. We're now, this year is going to be 14 years together. And like marriage is work, relationships are work. And we were like really like, yeah, like we have good communication skills. We know how to walk through conflict. Like, what is conflict 14 years later? Like, no, you've kind of like ironed out all the kinks. And just a baby was so different because you're both operating with new pressures you've never experienced before. You're both sleep deprived. Men take on a different type of pressure mentally, like emotionally providing. Women take on a different level of pressure, nurturing, caring for. Like it's a crazy transition. So the benefit is having a really strong foundation together, would really help us remember it is us going through this together. Like we want each other to be victorious on the other side of this. And that's like how we got through it. But it was still so challenging because you're both navigating new identities that neither of you have ever really seen before or like walked through before. And oftentimes the balance and the harmony and just the nature of a relationship when one person is going through a challenging time, like the other person can be like the strength and hold the other person up. And it was just wild us both going through something that was so life changing. And that's what made it like hard, like harder than anything we'd ever done before. But Look at us. We're having another kid. How hard can it really be? Pray for us. On social media, you see a lot this concept of like the men who take care of you and you don't have to work and you can go get your nails done. You can go do whatever you want during the day and go shopping, whatever. Like we I'm just like really aware of the season that we're in, and we're in a season of huge sacrifice, both of us. I'm not going out and getting anything that my heart desires. My job is to take care of the baby. I take care of the dog to the best of my ability. Like Matt takes care of the dog when he's available because, well, he is a lot. I maintain the house as much as I can, like clothes, cooking, food, shopping, all that stuff. The past 2 months is just like, that doesn't count. But that is, primarily me, and you're like, I always wanna honor my husband's sacrifice because I don't love him working 80, 90, God knows how many hours a week. I want my husband home. Like, life is better when daddy's home. But in that same way, like, I was, like, thinking about this too because I'm a girl who always loves a deal. Like, I love just being smart with money, and that is from being an immigrant's kid. Like, my parents had to, like, really stretch a dollar. They had 5 kids, they were assimilating, they worked extremely hard for their money, they never wanted to borrow money. It's that, and then it's, like, me also being just consciously aware of the season of life that we're in and our common goals that we're working towards together, and me not working, Matt being the primary earner, an added expense of a baby, like just life is expensive. It's 2026. I just filled up my car and like I feel like filling up my car. I have a sedan. I feel like it should be free. Filled up my car. I'm like, ooh, I know Matt's truck is like 3 times more than this. And it's just like, but guess what? This man makes it happen. I am conscious of it and I'm never exploitive. Is that the word of it? Like, I wanna say something, and I don't mean this in a disgusting, like, braggy way. I have not checked our bank account in years. In years. Like, Matt would, like, literally even say to me sometimes, like, "Hey, if you're gonna go do, like, big grocery shopping, could you just check the bank and let me know if I need to transfer?" Because we have, like, our one account, that everything comes out of, and it's just like, "Okay, if you're gonna do it, let me put the money that you need for it in there." And I don't check ever, ever. And I'm like, anytime I go get gas, I'm like, what a blessing it is to live a life. And like, we're not rolling in it, okay? We're working super hard in our own ways. But I'm like, I've never had to worry about if I can put gas in my car. I've never had to worry about if, like, when Magnolia was little, if we could afford formula. I never had to worry about like buying diapers. And yes, you're conscious of it. Absolutely. I'm not just going and buying anything. I, again, love honoring my husband and how hard he works by always making sure I'm like getting the best deals, getting savings when I can, etc., making our dollar stretch further. But nobody in our family ever goes without. And that is just a testament to like God and how he takes care of us. But also, I really just like sit back and I think about my husband and I'm like, what a gift that this is the person I ended up marrying. And I was talking to Matt about this the other day because it's also so important when you guys are couples, right? Husbands and wives, when you guys are going through seasons, like different seasons together, don't forget the power of like slowing down and still having good conversation with your spouse, like what that can do. Because Matt never looks for praise. He is not someone who ever does something waiting for appreciation in return. And like sometimes like I was saying something to him earlier this week. He's like, all right, enough. He's like, you're gonna make me have way too big of a head. But it's just I love slowing down in those moments because it's truly how I feel. And I'm so appreciative. And I was saying to Matt, I'm like, Matt, there's like 3 types of men out there, right? There are people who just don't. They just don't. They're like lethargic, they get lost in like shitty hobbies, except they just don't. They don't try, they don't have that extra effort, they just don't. Then there's the men who say that they want to, but they don't because they have their own complicated webs or whatever and, histories, traumas. And then there's the men who don't take no for an answer and they get after it. And I just think about, things that you just hear. It is 2026. Life is expensive. And never have I ever known my husband to be someone who just succumbs to what's going on in our life. My husband just works harder. I don't want to say than anybody I know because it's not a competition. My husband is one of the most hardworking people I've ever met. They say you marry your dad. Like growing up when my parents were figuring it out, my mom's working 2 jobs, my dad's working 3 jobs. Like my parents were working it out. Thank God my husband has a job too where he has the opportunity, where he has that drive. And dude, nobody wants to be at work that many hours a week, but his drive is taking care of his family. And our exchange is okay, when he's working this hard and he's not sleeping and it's crazy, daddy comes home, daddy goes to sleep. Mommy takes over with Magnolia. We have our whole morning routine. I'm doing my best to get ready. The baby's being fed. The baby's being played with. We're going outside. The dog's being taken care of. We're playing fetch. The dog's being fed. Magnolia goes down for a nap. I go in our room. I let Matt know, hey, the baby's with you. I go get ready. I go hike the dog for an hour. And it's like that gives my husband the ability to work as hard as he does because he's not in the back of his mind like, and I can't hold down the house, and I can't do this. Yeah, we have trade-offs, is that you can't do it all the time, but I really yesterday on my hike was like, "All right, like, this is my job right now. My job is to, like, take over in the things that my husband can't do, so he can keep working as hard as he does and carry on because we are working on certain goals and etcetera," and I'm just like, "I love this man." I woke up today and I said, "I want the title of the podcast I record today to be Ladies, Marry the Provider." And that's basically it. This is just kind of all that's been sitting on my heart this past week. I miss you guys. I've like wanted to podcast for so long. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the follow button if you want. And I will catch you all next week. Bye.